Yeah, so they purchased this land here as well as on the other side, which is a bit scary.
This is theirs?
Yeah, all of this. People know what we will be giving up, but what will we get in return is the larger question, and no one really knows that with certainty.
Solano County, California sits just north of the Bay Area and south of Sacramento. And for the past 8 years, its largely middle and working class communities have been facing what many locals consider a hostile takeover.
They've destroyed families. They don't care. They do not care about us, no matter what they say.
You can't make this shit up. You know, I have never seen anything like this.
We visited Solano County in June to learn more about a battle between a local community and a secretive group intent on creating its own society. The story began in 2017.
A farmer from out in the area called me and said, hey, somebody's buying land out here. And I thought, okay. He goes, but it's a lot of land. So I went down to the county and looked at the property records, and I could see the name Flannery, LLC, and that they had bought up at that time more than 20,000 acres.
Albert Medvitz and his wife, Jeannie, moved back to Solano County in 1987 to run her family's farm, one of the many dryland farms in the region.
In 2019, we ourselves got a letter offering to buy our ranch at inflated prices. We made it clear there's no way we're going to sell this ranch. And they simply could not seem to comprehend why people would turn down money for something and maybe more value than money could buy.
They decided to sue the ones who would not sell to them.
They came in the dark of night, kind of. They did this stuff secretly. You know, they've just ticked off a whole lot of the community, and then they have the gall to sue farmers that don't want to sell. It's just like, what are you thinking?
Flannery also sued dozens of other family farmers who held out after discussing the value of their land amongst each other, accusing them of collusion and antitrust violations.
Of course they talked. Farmers do that. People do that. They want badly. One's right near the water, and that person is not giving it up. So these farmers, what's happened is they are going broke trying to fight back against these billionaire boys.
It has just been agonizing. There were so many people who were wounded by this.
The buyers maintained a veil of secrecy around their identity until August 2023. That's when the New York Times broke the news that Flannery, which eventually spent $900 million buying up 66,000 acres of land, is the front group for a company called California Forever. And California Forever, backed by billionaires such as Reid Hoffman, Laurene Powell Jobs, and Mark Andreessen, wants to build a privately run city in the middle of the county's protected farmland with far less regulation.
The new city would be located north of Highway 12 between Travis Air Force Base and Rio Vista.
The group wants to build a green community that it claims will include thousands of affordable homes, shopping, dining, and walkable neighborhoods.
So they're saying they want to be good neighbors with people in Solano County, and at the same time they're suing their own literal fence-by-fence neighbors.
Investors in California Forever have been largely mum on the project and strategy. The public face of California Forever is its CEO, a former Goldman Sachs whiz kid named Jan Schwamek. He grew up in Eastern Europe, was a young prodigy in London, and founded a failed Twitter-like app. Here he is talking about the lawsuits at a tech conference.
It was a hard decision, but we have laws on the books that protect against that kind of conduct, and we'll leave it to the courts to figure it out.
What is the law that says if you want my property and I don't want to sell it to you, you drag me to court?
There's no law like that. What we have a law against is the law that says if the 6 gas companies, the gas stations in town get together and say that they're going to charge $50 for gas, then there's price fixing laws against that.
Schwamek has also been confronted by residents.
Let me respectfully.
I cannot tell you how much hatred I have for these people. Just hatred. Schwamek was crude and did not understand that he would have had a much better reception if he had talked to people.
Schwamek self-published a book in 2009 titled Racing Towards Excellence, which summed up his personal outlook with a misquote attributed to Ayn Rand. Quote, "The question isn't who's going to let me, it's who's going to stop me." The stakes are sky high, both locally and for the nation. If the project goes through, a precedent will be set with billionaires able to buy their way through community resistance and create their own privately held societies. And if that sounds exaggerated, it's already in progress elsewhere.
Legacy systems of governance keep individuals from reaching their full potential.
Andreessen, one of California Forever's billionaire tech investors, is also an investor in a company called Pronomos, which is trying to build its own radical tech cities around the world. In Honduras, Pronomos purchased land unbeknownst to locals in order to build Prospera, a libertarian, Bitcoin-powered city, and now that the country wants them out, the company is suing to establish autonomy.
Prospera has had a very negative impact on our community. But the mental stress that we are under, we don't know when our home will be taken from us.
Prospera is being very slowly built along the ocean in an area with some existing infrastructure. California Forever brings the idea to the US with just as much mystery and libertarian zeal.
I first met Jan. He came to City Hall and met with me, and I had my city manager there as well. And the one thing that's always stuck out with me in that discussion was we asked him, what kind of governance are you talking about if you're making a city? And he said, we're going to do something completely different. It won't be what you're used to. And we asked him to go a little further, and he did not. But it wasn't going to be like a city council kind of thing.
I think the biggest disadvantage will be to the individuals in the new community because you don't have an elected official to hold accountable. You don't have anyone that you can directly communicate your concerns to.
This is a key promise of the so-called network state movement, a tech separatist effort to create private, self-governed utopias. Schwamek has claimed he isn't interested in the movement, but several of California Forever's top investors are involved, and its creator called the would-be city a prime example of his idea.
The network state is about the book is about the bare land version of it, right? Which is already being tried. You're seeing it in Northern California.
Donald Trump, supported by Andreessen and other Silicon Valley libertarians, has a similar plan. But he calls them freedom cities.
No, you can't serve two masters, is my opinion. So one will always suffer. Either you'll answer to the people that you're serving or your investors, but you really can't do both.
Schwamek has talked repeatedly about removing regulations around building, which is key to the network state's self-government plan and a dream for developers.
And when I look at all of these plans or places that I visited, I often wonder, was the original vision somehow more radical? And then it got watered down because the fire department said something and the city said something.
I don't believe that this is just going to be a development. I think this is going to be an experiment about forms of governance. And when you have somebody like Mark Andreessen writing the Techno-Optimist Manifesto, claiming that words like sustainability are a curse on society, I think that's extremely exaggerated.
When we spoke with Solano County locals and officials, they voiced some similar concerns about the proposed city, its size, and how it impact the generations of residents.
My fear is that building a development like this, where it could be up to 400,000 people in a county of 450,000 people, it's not being built for the people of Solano County.
And we have to deal with the consequences. We have to deal with the congestion on Highway 12. We have to deal with the increase in taxes that could possibly happen or occur. We have to deal with, if we're in a drought year, how is water going to be re-rationed?
There was uncertainty about promises made to working class residents.
They're flat out lying to people about what it is.
And worry about California Forever's impact on the environment and economy, which was validated when the Solano County Board of Supervisors released an economic impact study. The report was prepared ahead of a November ballot initiative to change zoning laws to allow the city's construction to begin. Polling already showed mass opposition to the plan. Then this happened.
California Forever announcing today its East Solano plan will no longer be on the ballot in November.
Now the company is promising to make adjustments and try again in 2026. But the issues they face run deeper than deficits. Many of them are a matter of just misunderstanding the region. Here's what Jan Schwamek told billionaire investor, LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman about the county's farmland.
We've been able to purchase this property because it is some of the worst soil for agriculture within 100 miles.
Locals vehemently disagree, pointing to the $1.3 billion in revenue that farms and related businesses produced in 2023.
They have taken over a lot of land that has been dry farmed and has brought protein to the country and the world for 3 and 4 generations.
And in this era of climate change, when water is becoming scarcer across the country and across the world to use for crops, to be able here to set an example of how we can produce significant food, important food, without relying on water is hugely important.
The Orderly Growth Initiative has governed land use and planning in Solano County for 40 years, keeping cities growing without impacting farmland. Voters would have to approve changes to the law for the city to be built on protected farmland. Ironic, because the ordinance was first enacted in 1984 to prevent an investor from San Francisco from establishing a new city on the farmland.
Everything that's green is protected by the Orderly Growth Initiative. Okay, so Flannery's looking at this big green chunk down here. Here's Rio Vista, and there's Travis Air Force Base. So everything in gold is the land that Flannery bought. And you can see it's virtually that entire corner of the county.
As one of the 10 core guarantees made to Solano County residents, California Forever promised to create good-paying jobs in places where people live. Many of the companies that Schwamek announced as potential employers in East Solano are tech startups that share investors with California Forever's billionaire funders. Instead of waiting for a brand new city, officials say they would welcome them to their towns now.
We have a whole city block that I offered to him to go ahead and develop what you're looking at. And let's see it.
It's a bit disrespectful to withhold opportunity because it's tied to you directly. It's almost like a bait and switch or dangling a carrot before a person.
Here's what I've said about those companies that they've said might want to come out there. Come here now.
Affordable housing is another one of the 10 guarantees that California Forever offered the community as part of its sales pitch. They claim Solano County isn't building enough housing.
If you think that we aren't building enough houses, go down and look at our general plan and then come back and talk to us. It's thousands and thousands of houses.
We took a tour of locations where housing is being built right nearby. There were huge new developments in an area already zoned for housing and small neighborhoods right off main streets.
As you can tell, we're really active here in development. Price is really affordable for Bay Area standards, which is really cool. But the difference is these gentlemen can probably afford to live in these houses that we're building, which I take great pride in that. You know, I'm working class, my family is working class.
California Forever's apartments will start at $400,000 in today's dollars. Years from now, when the city would open, that's likely to be well over $500,000.
Who that affordable housing gonna be for? It's not for me and my people. They did this same thing in Silicon Valley. They promised them all these houses and all this. Well, look at them now, unhoused. They gonna do the same thing to us.
California Forever now plans to get a development agreement in place before a vote by residents in 2026, which could address their many concerns. The company plans to work with the Board of Supervisors on the project, which has people worried. It's very unlikely to win over some of the current supervisors.
As far as I'm concerned, I will never trust anything that they bring forward on anything. You broke the public trust. You operated in bad faith. You went after our farmers.
The concern is that they may work to remake the board.
As long as they're here, they're going to work really hard to take over our politics. They haven't done that step yet, but they're getting close. That's what the 49ers did in Santa Clara. I mean, they basically bought city council seats and to get the deal they want.
The CEO of the San Francisco 49ers has spent a record $3 million on supporting 4 candidates running for a seat on Santa Clara's city council.
They will do everything they can to get infrastructure money into their project to cut down their cost.
The secrecy was so resented, not even $7 million in marketing could overcome it. For months, California Forever tried everything. They blanketed the highways and airwaves with ads. They promised a big sports complex and a man-made lagoon and handed out cash to small businesses and nonprofits.
A lot of the people, like the garden that I work for, or just other people that I know in the community, they're saying they had to take